Yeah, yes. Well, it's great to meet you. I'm looking forward to getting into the book, getting into your world of writing. So thank you for taking a minute out today.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. So let's begin our journey before we get into your writing by asking you this. 6 years ago, this pandemic was changing so much about our world. How did you get through that time period, and how has it affected the way that you write and live today?
Oh, Joe, you probably realize I'm a professional epidemiologist working for CDC for 25 years. So my perception could be quite different from
I
perception of
that's
many other
that's
people.
why I want to know.
I, I sometimes joke that I took benefit of my knowledge of epidemics. I retired from CDC in 2019,
Wow.
months before the pandemic started.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a joke. I couldn't know exactly what kind of epidemics and when it starts. But what is not joke, uh, I was prepared that will be epidemics emerge because we have this, what they call emerging infectious diseases paradigm, and it's accelerating process. Secondly, I was prepared that epidemics is not just interaction or infectious disease, let's say, not only interaction between pathogen and human organism or animal organism. It's epidemics happen in human societies. And for years before that, I was engaged in conversation, collaboration with some anthropologists, historians who were learning, were interested about the role of epidemics in human history. For example, I was invited to some conferences gathering in London, Cambridge, Geneva, where I was only one biologist or epidemiologist. So I was more prepared for this question. And finally, it's probably the most important. I was quite aware that modern science not prepared to answer those questions, to have knowledge about epidemics, and the most important, to instruct people how to behave during epidemics. So this is certainly was big change in my life, but I was prepared in many ways. So I would say it's not so surprising as for other people.
Yeah. So let's get into the work that you're doing. Actually, let's get an overview of your career before we get into the book. I'm going to put you in front of 13-year-olds. It's career day. You're in a school, and one of the kids wants to know what you've done for a living. How do you answer them?
13 years, right?
Yeah.
It's exactly this year when I've got a book written by a British investigator, biologist, Henry Bates. They call Naturalist on the Amazon. And I was so captivated, but this investigation of exotic animals. And since that, I wanted to become biologist. I wanted to study nature, not just biologist who works in the laboratory, but to study, understand how this beautiful life can exist, how it's organized. And it's led me to become professional biologist. Later, I concentrated on biology of infectious diseases, and the rest is a story.
Yes. So when you were a kid, did you always have the idea that you wanted to get into biology and science, or was there anything else?
It's very early. I would say it's from 13 years exactly.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Where were you born and raised, and what were the seeds that were planted early on that made you want to get into biology and empiricism?
You can hear my accent. I was born and grew up in Odessa, Ukraine,
Okay.
and I graduated, got my first degree. But in this country, I'm already around 33 years. But when you become adult, you cannot get off your accent. I was certainly influenced by my father. He was interesting person and good teacher. But during my life, I met a lot of real teachers. I mean, not only in the school and in the university, but around me. And so I learned from those. So this is kind of seeds that I cherish.
So who's been your hero? Who's been your true inspirational force in your life?
Well, if I need to pick only one person, probably Albert Einstein. But the more important, as I mentioned, many people in my life was presented. It's not just example. I don't want to mimic anybody, including Einstein, but I want to be myself.
Yes. So, who is your favorite biologist or scientist in the field? Who did you look up to? Who have you kind of emulated in the work that you've done?
So always you try to put me, I need to pick something fun, but this is a point. You need to have orientation among different directions. If I need to select one, and I started to think, there is very interesting British biologist, C.H. Waddington. I'm sure not many of your listeners heard this name.
Yeah.
But he was influenced me very much, and actually talking specifically about my book. So he was a professor of evolutionary biology, geneticist in Cambridge, but he also developed a concept, what they call epigenetic landscape. I don't know if you've heard about this, about epigenetics. Now it's actually in biology, it's very, very hot
Yeah.
direction. But people even forgot what is behind of this. So he basically proposed that evolution and development is not so easy as people or Darwin thought. It's kind of invisible landscape, and you cannot see this, but it's each gene. It's not just you program to be like your genetic dictates you, but there is a landscape how you develop during your life. And he created this very good image of epigenetic landscapes that how we develop our organism of animals. Even you cannot see this; it's invisible, but it's really a map how you develop.
Yeah.
So I use this example in my book, and it was influenced me quite a bit.
So let's get into your book. Talk to me a little bit. It's the 10 dimensions of, is it Kabbalistic? Is that how you say it?
Yes, Kabbalistic biology, but
Kabbalistic.
probably the most important subtitle is Science's Guide to Entering the Invisible World of Life.
So talk to me about how this idea for the book came about, what you put into it, and kind of the construction of this book.
Um, it's a long way. First, let me start. It's not
Sure.
just one moment I decided to write this book. It took at least 20 years when I started to think about this. But main reason why I started to think about this, because working with very complex biological systems like epidemics or animals, animal behavior and development, evolution, it's extremely complex and dynamic process. You cannot rely only what you can see by your eyes. Whatever area you take, brain, for example, we know so small part of structure or function of the brain, and we make the conclusion. And the same about microbiology, let's say. We know some bacteria or viruses that cause epidemics, right? Human diseases or animal diseases. But you probably maybe have heard, in our body, we have so many microbial cells that even exceed number of our own cells.
Yeah.
And to tell that there are bad bacteria or good bacteria, it's too childish. It's not the picture.
Yeah.
And so we can see only small portion. Or let's take human genome, right? When it was huge project, it took billions of dollars to sequence whole human genome. And when they found completed this, they found only less than 5% of genes or sequences responsible for coding some proteins. So what about 95 or more, actually, what they call junk DNA, which is not accurate term, because it's still we need those. And that's just examples. So we need to take into account invisible world, and scientists, specifically biologists, they don't like to talk about such kind of how you can study how you can measure, because science based on measurement. And so we need to have some orientation from outside modern science and modern biology. And so it's from one side. And surprisingly, the same year, in 1994, when I started to work for CDC, I was enrolled in my first class of Kabbalah. And after years, I found that this direction proposed very workable system for orientation in invisible worlds. So this is my way how I started to think about this. But and I even sometimes present it in some gatherings, but I realize that I can mislead people, because after I've heard that, well, CDC scientists started to talk about Kabbalah, and it's not what I am afraid some actions. I was concerned about misleading. Yeah. So I thought I need to retire and concentrate on writing this book. And I probably could work on this manuscript still until this day. But you're right, when happened COVID-19 pandemic, I understood that I need to open this to other people, to learn about how to not to be lost in such kind of situation.
Yeah. So what are you hoping the reader ultimately walks away from this book with? What do you want them to get out of it?
One of the lessons is that, and it's not my formula, it's actually Einstein told that knowledge is not information. But modern science very much concentrated on gaining information. First, to collect data, a lot of data, what they call big data, and after that, to get information from those data. And many truly believe that basically they gain knowledge, but knowledge is something different. Knowledge is always separated from personal experience, from subjective perception. And and now actually it's easy. Many people understand that not always information is good, right? We bombarded so much information around us, and the same in science. It's years ago, even still working for CDC, I published some papers, scientific papers, where I demonstrated that this accumulation of information about epidemics. For example, it was published in 2013 in Entropy Journal. Said this, and it was about description of infectious diseases, zoonotic infectious diseases, where I was expert. Said accumulation of information about components of the system doesn't bring increase of knowledge, because it's counterintuitive, right? Because it's what expectation that gaining information. And again, going back to the COVID-19 pandemic, we had so much information, right, from scientists about sequencing of the viruses, but it was very particular information. So this is, I don't know if I answered your
You
question,
did.
but
You absolutely did. And I'm curious, in this career that you've spent in biology, what do you like the best about being in this world of biology? What is it that's been that got you up every day that you look forward to?
First, as I mentioned, I love wildlife. I like animals, and it's how I started doing this. And so it's so miraculous, phenomenal life. It's why it was important for me to understand it's not only you cannot see life by microscope. You can see some even very small objects like bacteria in microscope or viruses by light microscope. But those are just objects. I love to see, to investigate a relation between those process, biological process. This is exciting. And my career at CDC provided me with this good opportunity to travel around the world, to work with many scientists, had projects, I forgot, at least in 18 countries, with those very often leading specialists. So it was very, very interesting experience.
So it seems like as we advance into this technological AI, more modern world we're in, there's all these advances that help human beings live longer and healthier. Do you believe that we are? Do you think that we're increasing our lifespan and getting a better handle on some of these biological diseases and things that are happening? Or has it been kind of the same as it was, say, 50 years ago?
No, it's not the same. That's for
Okay,
sure.
right.
So first of all, we need to admit it's not changed like you. How many years you mentioned? Even by day, it changes so much.
Yeah.
Life, it's really changeable, and so we need to admit this. It changes. The question is how. What is our orientation in this complex world? One of my Kabbalah teachers, Samuel Vital, likes to say, or you drive car or car drives you. And he meant not only automobile, everything. It's not only computer, it's not only AI, it's even society,
Yeah.
even surrounding of you. They also, or you don't need to fight this car, right? It's so good to have good car. But when car tells you go only this direction, not go to another direction, I would feel uncomfortable. Yeah, I can use AI, but only it's like on short leash. It's for me, it's machine still. And uh, honestly, I don't afraid myself using this. I am of course concerned about young people who become so addictive to such kind of technologies.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Based on the dream you had growing up, let's say I put you in a time machine and you go back to the 18-year-old version of you, and you walk into a room and there's a film projector, and you click play and there's a highlight reel of your life, say a minute or two long. Would that young version of you believe your life turned out this way?
Yes, I actually I would come probably to this point right now talking to you
Yeah.
because I cherish all etaps of my life. But
Yeah. What?
so basically, I'm sorry, I will complete soon.
Oh no.
Basically, you need to realize each moment of your life is precious. It's opens so much opportunities.
Yeah.
You just need to be ready. You need to be careful to see what's going on you, to make your own decision and follow, not to fight with this. You cannot, it's not easy to fight with epidemics or with many world problems, but you need to know, you don't need to panic, first of all. You need to know what is, you have orientation marks in, and not only rely what is very visible.
So I'm curious. I got a question. There's so many things. We've had this pandemic. The world's a weird place right now with war and immigration, and America's probably as stressed as it's been in a long time. Are you hopeful for humanity, not only from a biological standpoint, but coming from Ukraine and seeing how the world's changed throughout your life? Do you remain hopeful?
I do.
Yeah.
But we always need to remember, you asked about humanity, but humanity is kind of machine also, a huge machine, big machine, but you still live in humanity, but you're a person. You need to do what you need to do right now and, and take care about your close people.
Yeah. Yeah. So on that 60-second highlight reel that was played on the wall, what are you the proudest of? What are you the happiest about?
I'm quite proud about my career at CDC and have good results, good investigations. But looking back, probably the most important for me being this quite unique position, by being a recognized scientist with credentials that easy to prove, and at the same time to see that it's not enough, even closely. So I had a lot of good teachers, of course, who helped me in this way. So I came to the position to intersection where I'm not limited only to modern the logic of science, which is very primitive, yes or no. There are much more gradation of how to live in this life. And so this is probably, sometimes I feel proud because, I can see this, I can teach people, I can show others how it works.
So everyone has a perception of you. Your family, your friends, everyone you've worked with, everyone that gets your book, but you run your show. You run what we see. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm investigator, explorer. Why? Because probably natural curiosity.
Yeah. Is there an,
But also, if I can add, it's
yeah, please.
one side, but also you cannot separate yourself from ethical side. You always need to remember it's not just curiosity, because curiosity can bring big disasters as well.
Yeah.
So you need to always ask yourself question: Is it good? Is it is it true? Is it honest? And if it's is it good?
Yeah,
Not only for you, but for everybody.
for sure. So when you promote a book, it's a long journey. From the minute you think about it to writing it, putting it out there, promoting it. So at this point right now, are you thinking about another book? Is there another one on the horizon?
I don't talk about this, but truth is, I started to write,
Okay.
but it will be more specialized. It's not only for my colleagues biologists. I hope it will be available and to many people. What I call this epidemics, the microbiome, and the between. And I explain what microbiome is. It's microbes of our body, which we cannot live without those microbes. But what is between? Nobody can see, right?
Yeah.
Because it could be the same bacteria.
Yeah.
And so I started to work on this. It's still a long journey. It will take probably at least a couple of years.
Okay. So as a curious, adventurous sort, I want to know this. If you could get into a time machine and go back in all of the annals of human history and see one event with your own eyes, what would you love to have witnessed?
No, Joe, I think we live in the most interesting and exciting time in our history.
Yeah.
Uh, Even take this. You asked me about coronavirus, right? It's terrible. It's people fear this, but if you can think, it's so tiny virus could change human history. So it's really fascinating time if it's you take from a side, not just reacting on some fear or something around you, but to see overall. We live in during very exciting time.
You're totally right. And I even think about AI. AI is this amalgamation of all of our human progress up to this point, and it's accelerating at such a high pace. Are you afraid of AI? What is your take on AI?
It's again, I mentioned this before. Some people afraid, right? They don't want to, and they cannot. It's like you, if you afraid to drive car, how much you would limit yourself, right?
Yeah.
Even if you afraid to take airplane, you cannot go to Europe or to see other countries. It's huge opportunity, but again, you need to drive this, not let this machine
Uh-huh.
try to.
Yeah, I totally agree. So if anybody wants to pick up your wonderful book, reach out, any of the other good business in your world, where's the best place to go?
It's available on Amazon. They articles created website on YouTube. It's Kabbalah biology. If they click Kabbalah biology, they'll go there. And there is from there a link to my professional website. My email address is available.
Okay.
I'm not promised to answer any email, but I promise to answer thoughtful emails.
Okay. I will put those links in the show notes. Michael, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck on the book.
My pleasure, Joe.
All
Nice
right.
to meet you.
Great to meet you.